Hello, and thanks for using TickBoom, a free service that helps school students with their math problems. In this video, I'll be looking at a technique that you can use that will help you with memorizing some of the key trigonometric results. So things like sine 30, sine 45, sine 60, and cos of those angles and tan of those angles. You may have noticed that in other videos I've made, I'm often using these results and seemingly just being able to rattle them off without thinking about them. And so what I want to show you in this video is how I was able to commit those to memory without too much fuss. If you find this explanation helpful, please be sure to give it a like. That's one way you can let me know it's helped. And if you're someone who wants to keep their finger on the pulse with the kinds of questions that other students are grappling with, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you can stay in the loop. So what I'll do is, what we're going to try and ultimately help with memorizing is how to deal with some of the key angles. So 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees. And we want to work out the sine, cos, and tan of these angles. And we'll use the SOHCAHTOA method to help this. So that's basically the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cos is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and the tan is the opposite over the adjacent. So this is just a way I learned to help me remember those rules. So if we want to do the sine of each of these angles, the cos and the tan, that's effectively 9 results that we need to commit to memory. And if you find memorizing things difficult, then maybe you'll find what I'm about to show you more helpful, because instead of just memorizing 9 results, we can actually simplify it down to 2 triangles. So what I'll do is I'll draw my first triangle, and it's this simple triangle or these 2 triangles that you need to remember. And once you've got these memorized, all of the angle results will just drop out. So it's a 90-degree triangle, and the first one will have the 2 angles the same, so 45, 45, and all of those interior angles will add up to 180. In this triangle, the sides are 1, 1, root 2. And you could almost just remember the 1 and 1 and use Pythagoras to get the root 2. But basically with this triangle, we can now use SOHCAHTOA to get our 45 angle results. So we could actually pick either of these, but I'll just work with this one down here. So we'll have the sine of 45 will equal the opposite over the hypotenuse, so 1 on root 2. The cos of 45 will equal the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so also 1 on root 2. And the tan of 45 will be the opposite over the adjacent, so just 1. So there, with that simple triangle, we've been able to think about 3 of our 9 results fairly easily. So you could then go, well, I'll just memorize these, or you could say, I'll just memorize this triangle and quickly sketch it up every time I need to think about the 45-degree angles. So in a similar fashion, we can draw up another triangle. This definitely won't be to scale in terms of the angles, but it doesn't matter because you just typically sketch them up just off to the side. They're not usually part of your official working, but this will also be a 90-degree angle, and this time the other angles will be 60 and 30. So again, they'll add up to 180 on the interior. And in this one, I remember the sides by just working around, and it will go 1, 2, root 3. And again, you could just remember the 1 and 2 and work out the root 3 using Pythagoras, but because it goes 1, 2, 3, just with the square root on the last, I think that's easy enough to remember. So now we can deal with these 60 and 30, so the 30 and the 60s. So I'll start with the 60s here. So sine of 60 would equal opposite over hypotenuse, so root 3 on 2. Cos of 60 would be adjacent over hypotenuse, so 1 on 2. And tan of 60 would be opposite over adjacent, so root 3. And then if we now look at the 30-degree angles, we'll go sine of 30 equals opposite over hypotenuse, so a half. Cos of 30 is adjacent on hypotenuse, so root 3 on 2. And tan of 30 is equal to opposite over adjacent, so 1 on root 3. So there you have it, 9 trigonometric results able to be worked out by just remembering 2 very simple triangles. So if memorizing these kinds of things is something you struggle with, try just committing these 2 triangles to memory. Maybe sketch them up over and over again until you can do it without thinking about it, because that will then help you when you're dealing with trig questions that require you to give exact answers. So you can't just key it into your calculator. You actually need to know that, you know, for example, sine 45 is 1 on root 2. Now, to check I haven't made a mistake, you could go through with your calculator and key these all in and make sure they do work. I'm kind of fairly confident that I've got this right, but please let me know if I haven't, and I can do a correction. But hopefully you can see that just memorizing these 2 triangles can be helpful. It can really simplify the amount of stuff you need to commit to memory for these trigonometric questions. So hopefully you have found that helpful. Again, if it was helpful, please give it a like, and remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to keep in the loop with the kinds of questions that other students are asking. Alright, tick boom.